Hi everyone, I am Zoe and I am super excited to share a little bit about my upcoming travel adventures with you, where we are taking a train and a boat and bikes and whatever transportation we can across Japan. And we are going to go from stick on the main island of Japan and head from the north all the way down to the south. And while I was packing, getting my things ready, I know there's many videos out there on, the best ways to pack for these kinds of travel or adventure trips. I was actually packing a medication kit. And when I'm talking about a medication kit, I'm talking about over-the-counter medications, 10 specific medications I plan to share of things we have needed at some point and on our travels over the last few years and didn't have with us, or maybe we did. I will share each individual and with a short little story, but these are over the counter, not prescription. And I want to kind of give you guys an overview of perhaps thinking about what to bring for medications. This is not a first aid kit, something different. So let's get started. The very first thing, and I think most people bring it, it's probably in your, backpack or your purse or your pouch or whatever, is Advil, and Tylenol is the other one. I bring both for two different purposes. Advil helps swelling. If you're a runner or doing any kind of exercise, or you just get swollen sometimes, like me on a plane, Advil will really help with that. And obviously it helps with other things as well, your headaches or any kind of aches and pains you might encounter. Hopefully you don't encounter any, but both Advil and Tylenol are in that kit. My second one I want to share, and again, these are not in any order, although I am saving the last one, which is a life-threatening thing that did happen to us on one of our trips, in fact, just last summer, and it has changed what goes in my kit, in my little medication kit. But the second one is eardrops, and this comes just in a small little container like this. Usually it's saline, you can get it over the counter. It really helps if you ever have those situations where you're trying to pop your ear on the plane and it doesn't pop. Or if you have gone in water and you have water stuck in there and the pain can, it can really, really affect your trip. So consider eardrops. We have had to use them on a few different occasions where you just wake up with a sore ear. Sometimes it's environmental, it's the dust, it's the air. We don't always know why, but and every single time we have had these eardrops, it has solved our problem. We've never needed to get medical intervention other than having our own medication kit. So that would be it. So number 3 is on the same line as eardrop, but it is eye drops. And this is kind of an interesting one because I recently had an incident that could just happen to any of us, where I squirted a hand sanitizer bottle, and the direction that the hand sanitizer, because it was stuck, and it just squirted directly into my eye, a huge gulp of hand sanitizer. And it did burn the cornea quite severely. I did have to get in medical help from my eye doctor. And really what they had me do is just take this Systane every 3 hours. It's like a moisturizer, and it helped with the burn where, when I close my eyes and open them, the feeling of scratchiness wouldn't be so bad. And after like 3 days, the pain was completely gone. But really, it was this that helped me. So, there's other situations. We were on a run on one of our trips, and a bee kind of so like 1 in a million. Like, I don't know. But anyway, a bee kind of like flew into my husband's eye. It didn't really like stay there. It just kind of flew and then went away, and it left just some of like little pollen or dust or something, and it scratched it. And so again, calling the eye doctor and figuring out, you know, like, is it, even though he didn't think it was that big of a deal, his eye did swell up, and this stuff really helps. So Sustain and the eardrops are quite helpful. Number 4 is technically a prescription. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about prescriptions, but this is for migraine. And I'm not one to usually get a migraine, but I have, like, you know, in my life, I'm not, over the years, I've probably had a couple, but I had one while I was in Greece a couple summers ago, and it was our last day on our way to the airport, and I woke up with a migraine, and it was a very challenging day, to the point I wasn't sure if I was going to make it on the plane. Migraines, if you have never had one, are very physical. It's not just in your head, but, you know, like aching teeth, face almost feels paralyzed. I can't quite explain it, but it's lots of nausea goes along with it, where you feel like you're going to be sick, or you are. The migraine medication works almost instantly if you never had it. It's a little capsule, you put it under your tongue and it fizzes, and it's like all of a sudden it's gone. So I don't really even use these normally, but I did ask for a prescription to have while we're on holidays, and so this is going into the kit, along with some of the other things that I've shared with you. Number 5 is a sinus medication. Last year, 3 days after we got off the flight, I ended up with an terrible sinus cold, and it was really just in my sinus, and we did not have sinus medication. And trying to explain to the pharmacists who did not speak English — we were in a very remote town in Portugal — what we needed, and also explaining that knowing, and at this point it didn't matter, certain sinus medications affect people differently depending on what's in it, and you can read up on it, but there's a particular medication that can cause you to feel very jittery or anxious, and that's me. That I'm very careful about what's in my sinus medication. Anyway, bring it. You might not ever need it, but I'll tell you, it is another one of those things. If you have it and you take it, you can kind of just go along with your day. I mean, you're not going to feel 100%, but it's going to help you. And if you're not near a pharmacy, at least you have something until you are. So, and sinus medications, if not treated, can get worse and worse, like to the point you need some kind of antibiotic. So I put those in my little kit that's coming with me. Okay. What are we on to? I think is number 6, and that is some sort of throat lozenge. I do feel that depending on the air, depending on the time of year, if you're on a cold weather trip, the air can get super, super dry, and it can cause your throat to be very dry, and then as a result in the morning you feel like it hurts, maybe it's a bit swollen. A food you've eaten can cause it. Hot sauce can cause it. You know, even just being on the plane, I never ever go on a trip without some kind of lozenge, especially because I like to know what's in it. So throat lozenges are definitely an in for me. They will also go into my little kit. Number 7, and a couple of them are on the same lines of stomach. So the first one is, it's kind of embarrassing, and perhaps, but this is a diarrhea relief. And if any of you have ever traveled to a country and ate something that just didn't sit well, That's one thing, but when it lasts days and days, that happened to me in Vietnam. I ate something, it did not feel like food poisoning. I wasn't in pain. I did not need to go to the doctor, at least I didn't think I did. But it lasted about 72 hours where I could not be half an hour away from a washroom, and I needed to take this medication. It actually resulted in me having to pause my return home. I couldn't get from my location to the plane without needing a washroom. And so I think this is an essential item to go into the kit. Number 8 is on the same line is Gravol. Most people I see, in fact, on the planes, or, it's a pretty common medication. But even if you're someone who doesn't necessarily get motion sickness, or you never know, right? I was on a flight one time where the turbulence was so bad, they eventually ended up having to land the flight in an emergency scenario. But there were people on there who were saying, I don't normally get sick, but I'm not feeling so well. It really does help. It does make you a bit sleepy, but it is worth it if you're nauseated, because often it's not just one moment you're nauseated. It will last for several hours. Like you almost to feel that if you've never felt it, that you have the flu. So we needed this last year in Portugal when we were driving and the hills were a lot, and we were up and down and so on. It just was a lot. So that is going into my little kit. What else do I have here? This isn't Gravol, and I'm going to kind of add this on to my Gravol and Imodium, or any kind of diarrhea medication, but is a Tums, which goes in because you're eating differently, and the ingredients in the food isn't the same as what you're used to. So I put that into the kit. And here's another one that maybe is a tiny, I don't know if I want to say embarrassing or just whatever, but it's Restorelax, and this is if you just feel like for a while you can't poop, and this helps you. And often traveling for a long period of time, you're in a different time zone, your stomach is all over the place, and it can cause a little bit of constipation. This is very helpful, and it's not, it doesn't taste bad, it just gets dissolved into water. Okay, number 9 and number 10 are kind of go hand in hand. It's Benadryl. Where's my Benadryl? I think I must have packed it away already. But Benadryl is 100% Benadryl. Even if you don't have allergies, even if you don't get affected by stings or environmental allergies, it can help. You never know. So Benadryl will help with that. It obviously will help with other things too, like the sinuses and sneezing and things of that sort. But Benadryl, 100%, put it in your pack. That's my suggestion. And yes, we have needed it. And that goes on to number 10, which is an EpiPen. And a lot of people, if you don't have an allergy, you wouldn't even think, oh, why am I going to bring an EpiPen? But you'd never know again. And, my husband in his 50th year, last summer got stung by a wasp, a yellow jacket. And, he's been stung many times before. He's never had an allergy. He's been tested in the past, no allergy. However, this one time he gets stung on his knee, of all places. Initially we said, take some Benadryl, put some ice on it. Now come back to the fire. We were at a, fairly remote cottage environment, and he unfortunately went into an anaphylactic shock. While the sting was on his knee, he was reacting under his arms. Usually you will get swelling, some sort of rash under your arms. He was reacting in his face, his neck was swelling a little bit, nauseated, can't stop going to the bathroom, all sorts. It's basically your body is shutting down when you're going into that shock, if you've ever had it. And we had to figure a way of how do we get from this remote environment without one of these, because this can buy you time, to a hospital. And it probably was the most terrifying experience of my life, trying to drive someone who's in that state in roads I'm not familiar with. And yes, I did contact 911, but because of where we were, it was actually faster for me to meet them than for them to be dispatched and come to where we were. So we just had to do what we had to do. They said, just get him in the car and get him to this location as fast as possible. So we now carry one of these around with us everywhere. And in fact, you know, just on that same note of my husband, he did get attested as soon as we came back from that particular trip, and he ended up having to carry 4 of these around. 4. The allergy was so bad. From someone who'd never had an allergy, your body changes, and apparently his did. It's a year later. He's been receiving injections called venom injections, and it is becoming desensitized to the allergy for his own safety. But we still carry this around. In fact, we carry 2 in 2 different backpacks to make sure we always have it. So I highly suggest, in Canada at least, you can get these over the counter. I don't know how much they cost. I'm thinking around $100 Canadian, but please, if you know, please let me know. This is covered under our insurance for our work, but and I don't know what it would be what the cost is where you are, but I think that this could save your life, and I urge everyone to carry one of these with you. I think that brought us to 10, but I did have one little extra that it's kind of again, I don't know if I wanted to share this one, but I told my family I was making this little video while I was packing all our things, and because it's a little embarrassing, but when you get to my age and after you've had children, I don't know if anyone can guess where I'm going to go with this, and you've been sitting on the flight for a long time, sitting, and you've been eating weird food and maybe not going to the bathroom as much as you can. Yes, you can get hemorrhoids, and it can really, really affect your first few days or whatever days you're on your trip, and it can be a little embarrassing to have to go into a pharmacist and ask them about, you know, where is your hemorrhoid medication. It's a lot easier to just have your own. And you know, I was in that scenario trying to explain using Google Translate on my phone, since I didn't fully know the language fluently, and it just was a little awkward. So I think maybe I'm just going to bring that kind of medication with me. Of course, there's probably many more I'm forgetting, but I'm only bringing these because we've needed them at some point on every one of our trips, and so we keep learning from our own mistakes. But if you have any medications that you thought, you know, while you were away, like, oh man, if I had just had that one thing, again, I'm kind of going on the non-prescription side of things. Obviously, if you have a prescription, you're going to bring it. I think it's important, you know, to make sure that you have a list of what you need and so on. But we're talking about the over-the-counter non-prescription kinds of things. And again, not talking about first aid medication. That's something completely different. So if any of this resonated or helped you in any way, please help me out. Get me past my 179 or whatever it is my following is at this point, or subscribers. I would appreciate it, and you know, if you don't, that's okay too. And I will be sharing videos throughout our big epic adventure in Japan coming up. Thanks, everyone.